spotlight where we try to do our best to shine the brightest light possible on local businesses. But that's not our only goal. Our other goal is what we have found. My partner, Tony Miltenberger, and I, Tony's not able to be with us today. One of the things that we figured out is that these guys right here have experienced more things collectively than what most entrepreneurs will. And you're going to be able to carry away some nuggets of information in this podcast right here that will stop you from bumping your head and hopefully help you navigate or negotiate an obstacle that gets in the way. I'm really, really happy. Oh, I want to also mention today's podcast is sponsored by Follow to Lead Executive Coaching. That's what Tony Miltenberger does. And if you have a need for any type of executive coaching, I recommend that you reach out to him. Our guest today is Scotty Cronin, and Scotty is a Dayton, Ohio firearms instructor and business owner. He is the founder and lead instructor at Gunset Training Group and co-owner and CEO of Topflight Range and Firearms, a private shooting and training facility. He also works as an acquisition program manager with the United States Department of Defense and has more than a decade of experience training civilian and professional students in firearm use. Scotty is known for his focus on practical self-defense, performance-based training, and responsible firearms ownership. I am so happy to have you on today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Honored that you asked me to join, and looking forward to our discussion today.
Well, I like to get started out here because business owners wear a lot of hats, and especially business owners that own two businesses. And it's fair to say that you probably have had your hands in on many more, and probably currently do right now. The struggles that face business owners can sometimes be paralyzing. Things can jump out of the bushes that really make business owners feel like it's those type of things right there that is going to make my business fail, or I need to know how to navigate something like that. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? And maybe we'll start with Gunset Training Group, because I've been a customer of it. It is a executive level. I wish I could think of a better word, but if there were a level at which training were, I would call it executive or diamond level training, because of the level of professionalism that you guys put into it. Share a little bit of your story about Gunset and some things that might have just made you go, wow, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Gunset is pretty unique because, in my experience, most firearms training organizations are kind of centered around one personality. You usually have one person who has some experience. It could be law enforcement, military, competition, something like that. And because of their personal success, they're able to build kind of a training company around them. And so that company tends to take on their personality, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing, right? Gunset is very fortunate to have a cadre, an entire team of guys that all have their own specialization, a tremendous amount of experience and expertise. And so with what we've built with Gunset, we have a very holistic approach to training people, and not just in firearms, but just in personal preparedness, self-reliance, being able to become, a better contributing member of society, whatever that might look like. So we're very fortunate to have such a amazing, incredible team. And I think that that's really been the key, is surrounding myself with people that complement my own strengths, that instead of me trying to become good at things I'm not, surrounding myself with people who are truly gifted in certain areas. And then, because, we say this internally all the time, that, our sum is greater than individual parts. We started Gunset Training Group in 2019, but all of us who are currently on staff with Gunset started much, earlier than that. I started training professionally in 2013, and it's pretty wild to look back at some of the pictures and videos of some of the first classes that we were teaching back then, and to see how far we've grown and developed personally, professionally. It's honestly, it's humbling, sometimes to look back to see the road that you've traveled and the mistakes you've made along the way. A lot of things we had to figure out the hard way, but I'm very proud of what we built, because it really has become something that is nationally recognized as a quality training organization.
Well, you said a couple buzzwords in there that I was going to use to describe the experience when I talk about, and this all goes to company culture. You have, and there's so many business owners out there right now that, number one, either don't know what the importance of company culture is, or if they do, they're struggling with how to implement it. How does someone wind and tie into the DNA of everything that happens in your company? And you guys, when I mentioned professionalism, one of the other things that jumped out at me, and I've had an opportunity to interact with several instructors. I think of Mike Kinsey being another one that I had an opportunity, and it's an intimidating business space that you're in firearms. And I've never seen a group of gentlemen come at it from a more humble approach. You guys have figured out a way to weave into your company culture the professionalism, the efficiency, and doing it with a humble nature where the end user not only feels like they gained from that class or that experience, they want to come back. I've got to hand it to you. How did you guys weave that in?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. That means a lot to hear you say that. That really warms my heart, because that is absolutely our goal. That is who we want to be. In our experience, a lot of times the firearms industry is full of trainers that they treat a class like it's boot camp, or like their students are cadets in an academy or something like that. What we realized is we want to be ourselves. We want to be approachable. We want our space to be accessible. And there's a lot of people that aren't interested in that type of intense environment. Certainly it's a serious topic. So we wanted to make sure that we were handling it professionally, but we also wanted to make sure that we had that culture that made it inviting and open to the regular everyday person. And really where a lot of my motivation came from originally was I spent I think 10 years as a police chaplain at a local police department, and I was teaching classes at that time, but for me at that point, it was mostly teaching concealed carry classes and helping people be safe with firearms. And I can tell you a little bit of how I got into that. There had some personal family experiences that led me to become very passionate about teaching the safety aspect of that. But I remember we were riding one night and we got called out to a home invasion. And long story short, it turns out it was a domestic situation where the estranged husband was there at night trying to kick in the door. And there was a mom who, she had no plan, she had no tools, no way to defend herself or her children. And she literally took her babies and put them in a bathtub and covered their bodies with her body. And that was her plan, was just get in between her kids and the threat. And in that instance, I saw, like, this is somebody that I could help. I could help this person feel empowered to be able to protect her children and to do it safely and responsibly. And so that's where it went from a job to something that became more like a mission for us. where we became very passionate about helping people like that. And if we had an environment where we were yelling at people, or it was intimidating, those types of people that needed that type of training the most, probably we wouldn't be able to reach them. So that was a big part of kind of the genesis of Gunset, was us creating something that anyone could come, regardless of whatever their situation was. We've had people that were held up at their jobs. One guy was working at a drive-through and had a terrible situation there. We've had all sorts of domestic violence, or people that were assaulted, and then we also have the 21-year-old kid that just turned 21 and he wants to buy a gun. So we have kind of a spectrum of people that we wanted to be able to reach each and every one of them. And then as we developed as instructors, and we started offering, I hate using the word advanced, but certainly more mature classes, then our clientele started to expand even further. So we wanted something that just set us apart from everyone else, because this is a tough business, because this is something that a lot of people think they're good enough. Maybe they grew up shooting, or their neighbor was a police officer and took them out a couple times at the range, and they think they're good enough. So to convince people to spend their money and invest in themselves when they already think that they're good enough is a challenge in and of itself. So we wanted to set ourselves apart from everyone else, and create that culture that was fun and inviting, and reached as many people as possible.
Jonathan Willis would be the poster boy for preaching about the continued need, even if you feel like you've always been around firearms, or if you're in the military. Sure. I have a military background, and he has he's stated the point very eloquently that there's always more training to get. There's been a common thread in our podcast, and you touched on a couple things. Number one, you talked about passion, and I don't know that there's been a business owner that's been on our podcast that hasn't talked about the passion for what they do. And I think that gets undersold sometimes. I love to hear you say that. The other thing that I loved hearing you say, I read a little bit in your background that you worked hand in hand with Miami Armory and Dave Becker, and now, of course, Austin Valentine. That's been the place that I've frequented to make firearms purchase, and they do such an incredible job, as you guys do, of just being humble and approachable and willing to discuss and treat someone with dignity, regardless of what their range of knowledge is on the topic. It doesn't surprise me at all that you said that right there. You had mentioned something that happened, or a reason that you decided to get into. I want to go off script a little bit, because I think that there's something more you wanted to say about just your passion from becoming a chaplain with the police department. Tell me a little bit more about that background right there, Scotty.
Yeah, sure. So, people ask me a lot how I got into this, and it's a pretty unorthodox path, right? So I grew up around firearms. I went shooting with my dad, quite often growing up, and gun safety was literally beat into me from a very early age. And the reason for that was he lost his dad when he was a kid, due to an accidental discharge of a firearm. And it was within the family. And so one of the things that it took me a while to really understand the significance of this, but I never met my grandfather because of one moment in time, right? And it was a poor decision. Somebody mishandled something or handled it carelessly. And that one instance when my grandfather's body happened to intersect the flight path of a bullet changed the trajectory of my family. And so because of that, my grandmother was remarried, and my dad family life kind of really took a different turn. Like I didn't know anybody really with the same last, I mean, I'd met a couple people, but I didn't really know anybody with the same last name as me besides my immediate family, my brother, my dad, and my mom, until I was 18. And, I was able to kind of reconnect with some of my grandfather's siblings and kind of their extended family. But that really had a profound impact on me growing up. That one small mistake can completely transform not just your life, but the trajectory of your descendants, and just the way that your family interacts. And so I was very passionate about helping people be responsible with firearms, and teaching people how to be safe, because that was something that was definitely driven into me. I And so a lot of people assume that I was in the military or something like that, especially since I work for the Department of War now. But I actually went to seminary. Like, that was my background. I decided I wanted to go into ministry when I was young. And I worked in churches for about 10 years as a youth pastor, and did worship ministry and things like that. And I don't know, I did that for 10 years or so. And I ended up making kind of some career changes, just because I decided I didn't want my paycheck to come from the church anymore. And my wife and I, we still go to church, and we're still very involved. But I kind of wanted to kind of go a different path. And so I ended up working at Indiana Wesleyan University, and was very fortunate to be able to take some classes there while I was the campus manager for the Dryden campus, actually. And I just started falling in love with business. I kind of got hooked on the idea of entrepreneurship and small businesses. I've always been a leader. I kind of joke around that you put me in a room with 20 people, there's a real good chance that I'm going to end up, trying to take charge of it. I can't help it. It's just in my nature. And I love leadership. And that was something that I thought would be really cool, was to, have that sort of freedom to be able to cast your vision and pursue that, and kind of make your own destiny. Right. And I think maybe at the time I thought, this will be a great way for me to make some money and then sit back and maybe, retire. And I didn't realize that it actually involves way more work than working for somebody else. But, that was how initially I had kind of gotten into the firearms space professionally. Was firearms were something that I did as a hobby. It was something I enjoyed. But then I had an opportunity to go work for the Miami Armory, and tried to, I got in there, I think it was 2012 is when I started there. And, we were a tiny little shop, and to be able to help that grow over the course of a decade to what it's become today was really fun. You had mentioned Dave Becker. I learned so much about business from him. And there's probably times where I didn't realize I was learning. He and I definitely were both strong personalities sometimes. And in hindsight, I look back and I realize how much he was teaching me about how to run a business and how to be successful with your business and how to do it the right way. And so along that same time frame, though, I still wanted to serve my community, and I still wanted to serve my church. And so the chaplain opportunity kind of fell in my lap. And about that same time was when I had started working at the Miami Armory, and because of my church teaching background, they had asked if I would be interested in teaching some gun safety classes. So honestly, a lot of it was just luck, that I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and knew the right people. And because of my relationship with the police department, working as a chaplain, that started opening doors where I was able to start attending different shooting schools and classes that were open to law enforcement only. And I just kind of got hooked on training. And pretty quickly, I realized that it was something that I really enjoyed. And I was like you said, I was very passionate about it, and I was passionate about teaching. And as that kind of evolved into more of that mission, where it wasn't just about this helping people be safe with their guns, but actually, like, my students might need to use these skills that we're imparting on them to save their life. And so we just kept stacking and stacking. And I was just learning more and more about about how to be a good instructor, about how to run a business, and all of those things kind of just ended up coalescing into what we have today. Ultimately, the thread, though, that I found is hard work is the key. There's no shortcuts to this. There's no way to just snap your fingers and fall into. Now, there's certainly people that might be able to start a certain type of business and it's a success on day one. But this type of business is something that you have to have experience in. There's so much at stake when you have a class full of people with guns in their hands, right? Sure. And so you have to know how to do it correctly. You need to be able to communicate effectively. You need to be able to lead that group. You need to understand what best practices are. You need to mitigate liabilities and dangers and be in control. So there's just so many things that have to go right for those things, for a class like this to be successful and everybody to go home safely. That it's just hard work is the key. And I'm very proud, like I said, looking back, sometimes there was tough lessons that we had to learn, but I'm very proud of where we are today. And I think the key has been never giving up and just being willing to work harder than anybody else. So I think that this last year, just to kind of tag one more thing onto the end of that, we were invited to go down as instructors at the National Tactical Conference in Dallas, Texas, a couple months ago. And so that's an honor to be invited to go down and teach with some of my heroes and people that I've been reading their books and learning from them since the 90s. And there's the national pistol match happens down there every year, the annual pistol match. And our team has kind of developed some unique approaches to training that we're pushing pretty hard. And we've got people from all over the country that have kind of joined us in our 52 card challenge. But I took 4 guys with us down to the tactical pistol match. And out of 250 of the country's best shooters, all of us from Gunset ended up making it to the finals in the top 16. Wow. So that just is just evidence that our hard work and our dedication to our craft is paying off. And I just couldn't have been prouder. I mean, I was excited that I made it. Like, that was cool. Mm-hmm. But I was way more excited when I started seeing that my boys, that went down had also went down and made it to the finals. I mean, I was screaming. My wife was plugging her ears because I was just losing it. I was so excited for them. So celebrating each other's successes is part of our culture too. So.
Well, it's no doubt just to jump back to the culture thing real quick. I want to pivot after that, but I want to make a comment. I just want to again give you guys props for the culture because it's obvious when you're there. Charlie McMahon, the pastor of Southbrook Christian Church, was just on last Monday, and just this past Monday, and he said something in developing a team. One of the things that he realized in developing a team, and he recognized where some of his mistakes were, that your team, you really, aside from hiring skills, which you guys have done an incredible job of hiring people that are professionals and experts at different skills, but nobody would ever be mistaken about how much you guys support each other. Number one, that's why your celebration comments at the competition don't surprise me at all. But how much you guys like working together. That'll be one of the first things when somebody takes a class. You will honestly feel like you're around a bunch of guys that like being there to teach the class, but they also like being around each other. And I just want business owners to pick up on that right there when you're hiring, when you're creating your team. You've done such a fantastic job of talking about how to weave that corporate culture, and your testimony stands tall. I want to pivot to getting into something else, because a lot of business owners struggle with, okay, I've got this one thing and it seems to be moving along pretty well, and this other opportunity comes knocking. And you had another opportunity come knocking. Not only tell us about the opportunity, Scotty, if you would, but also the decision that you made that it was the right pivot for you and your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things as a leader right? If you want to be successful, if you and you want your team to be successful, one of the things that you have to understand is there's an obligation there, right, to your team, to protect that culture, and so that sometimes means making sure that the right people are part of your team, and that if there's an issue that's affecting chemistry or whatever, that you address it, in order to fight for that culture, to keep what we have special. But then also, I feel an obligation to continue to provide opportunities for my guys to continue to be successful as well. And one of the things that I was very frustrated with was we didn't have our own space for teaching, and we relied on. We have some great relationships with some people that have great training facilities, but it wasn't our own, and so we were constantly competing with other. It was mostly police agencies that were using these facilities, and so it just became difficult to provide the opportunities that I felt like my guys deserved. They were working so hard, and I needed to find a way to get them that. And so we kind of had something fall out of the sky, and it was very fortuitous. Jonathan Willis and I were actually in Buffalo, New York, teaching a shotgun class together, and he just kind of looked at me and said, "Hey, did you hear about Sim Trainer?" And Sim Trainer was had announced on Facebook that they were going to be going out of business. And about that same time, Zaniel Bombach, who is also one of the gunset guys and one of the best pistol shooters I've ever been around in my entire life, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, probably one of the best in the country. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. He's incredible. And so Zan had been shooting here at Topflight as in their competitions and stuff. And so he called me and said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity. I don't know if you're interested. Let's sit down and talk about it." And essentially, Sim Trainer was, it was I think the very first indoor shooting range in Dayton, Ohio. And so it's been here for a while. The guy who founded it, Jeff Pedro, was, well-known radio show host, and he seemed to be beloved by his members. It seemed like they had such a neat community here. Well, unfortunately, he had passed away, I think in 2020, 2021, something like that. And so the family was trying to kind of keep it going, but it's just difficult to keep something going when so much of the business was built, I think, around his personality. And so for whatever their reasons were, they had decided that they were going to close the business. But they really wanted to continue to honor his legacy, and they felt an obligation to the members of the range to do what they could to keep the place open. And so they had reached out to Zaniel and myself and wanted to know if we would be interested in kind of taking on this opportunity of taking over Sim Trainer and keeping it going. And so, Zan and I, got together, we checked the place out. We had a very short window to kind of make our decision. We tried to do as much of our due diligence as possible, looking over financials and, their overhead and, all of the factors that you would want to take in to make a decision like this. And honestly, it came down to, are we willing to work hard enough to make this happen? And, I have a full-time job. I'm very, very busy. And then I own a business on the side, which keeps me very, very busy. And now we're going to try to open up a storefront and have an indoor shooting range. For me, the juice for me is the hard work. I love doing things that I don't think other people can do. And that just gets me going. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning, to know, like, I like doing things that are hard. And I know that has done me well, building character. I know, I look at where I'm at right now, the amount of stress and responsibilities that I have, and this would have crushed me when I was 30 years old, right? Sure. And so this is an opportunity, it's a challenge, and I was like, let's do it, let's go for it. And it's really just come down to how hard we are willing to work. And one of my we haven't talked about this, but my first, obligation is to be a good husband and a good dad. And so am I willing to, find a way to get this thing open and make this thing successful and still be a good dad, be a good husband. And for me, it just is like, well, I just won't sleep. That's my answer, right? So that's kind of where we're at is we are, dragging this thing, kicking and screaming. There's been so many obstacles that have been thrown in our way. We've had so many unexpected expenses, so many unexpected bureaucratic obstacles and things like that. And we just refuse to quit. And I think that there's a quality there that a lot of people don't understand. When you're trying to start a business, you're going to run into problems. You're going to run into things you can't anticipate. And so how well do you plan ahead for the unanticipated? How well can you evaluate potential impacts, and what are you doing to mitigate risks and things like that? All of that kind of goes into formulating it. But a lot of times it just comes down to how hard are you willing to work. And for us, it has been really hard. We've worked really, really hard, but we are very proud of what we built here, and we are really excited about this range. We've rebranded it. So the range is going to be known as Topflight Range and Firearms. We're going to have a retail storefront where we're going to be selling and transferring firearms, and ammunition, accessories, all sorts of things like that. And then we're going to have a members only shooting range that is going to be pretty different than anything else that's in Dayton right now.
Well, we're going to call this breaking news. I love having breaking news. I know Topflight has been out there and you've had soft announcements right there. Boy, I got to hand it to you. A lot of times I'm at fault for the format of our podcast, and every guest has taught me something. And I sometimes trying to position it as Q&A, and I think it comes off okay, but my standards are higher than okay. I want excellence. I just want excellence in everything I do. And every guest has really taken it to a different notch. I didn't have to ask you any questions in there, but you were able to touch on, and I appreciate that so much. You understood what the goal was to accomplish here, and it came out in a format that was even better than what I anticipated. Every time I started to think, all right, I'm going to ask him about this right here, you segued right into it. It just makes for such an enjoyable listen. It makes it where people are going to want to watch. I love repetition. I can't get enough of it. My family gets on me constantly about how I repeat, but I repeat important things. And you didn't do anything but repeat important things: hard work, passion, professionalism, humble. Those are all words you used to describe what you do and what your team does. I give it mine. I can't wait to become a member at Topflight. I can't wait for that to come out right there. I've got to ask you one final question, and I'm going to steal this question from Ryan Hawk like I've done ever since I heard him ask it. I'm a big fan of the Learning Leader podcast, and Ryan Hawk loves to ask this question here. Scott, if I'm going to give you a bottle of champagne, or if you don't drink, maybe it's just something, I'm going to give you something to celebrate 1 year from now, and I want to come back and I want to celebrate it with you. 1 year from now, what are we popping the top on that bottle of champagne, or however we're celebrating? What are we celebrating 1 year from now?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think is super important when you're, trying to open up a business is figuring out what success looks like for you. And a lot of times that comes down to metrics. You can evaluate, okay, here's our projected expenditures. So here's exactly how we can, what the path is to generating an income that is going to cover expenses, what your break-even points are, where you start to make money. I can tell you exactly how many members we're going to need to reach that point, what our percentage of profit needs to be on our retail side, how many classes we're going to be able to teach. Like we've done all that analysis and evaluation. For me, success is going to be celebrating that 1 year anniversary with an amazing community that we've built here. Ultimately, I think that you can do all of the things technically right and fail miserably in a business. For me, what I want and what I've always foot stomped with my team is if we work hard and we do things for the right reason, and we are the kind of men that other people respect and want to be around, then making money is a byproduct of that. And for us, what we want to do is build a community here of people that enjoy being around each other, around common interest, whether that's on the competition side, that, you know, we're really excited about having our leagues and all of our different competition stuff. We're going to have women's only groups here. You know, we're going to have tons of self-defense classes and things like that, or whether you're just enjoying coming into a gun shop to window shop, our inventory, whatever that might be. If we can build that community and build those relationships with people, that's the success, right? That's where you make money as a byproduct of doing things the right way. And for me, it's never going to be about making money. It's going to be about building relationships, making a difference, because that's what your legacy is, right? Your legacy is not how much money you make. It is the way that you've impacted other people, how they speak of you when you're not in the room, and how they'll remember you when you're gone. And so that's way more important to us. And so I'm not sure if I'll ever know, you know, the impact that we make, but that's what success looks like for me. So if our doors are still open, you know, and we're still bringing people in and we're having a good time and making a difference, and our customers are being safe and bringing their friends, I mean, that's a milestone for me that I can't wait to get up out of bed every day and go and celebrate that. So
it's you basically the book, What Are You Doing with Your Dash? You know,
yeah,
dash
exactly.
date you're born and date you die. I love it. Well, that I have no doubt with all of the culture that you've built with Gunset that it's going to overflow abundantly into Topflight. I'm excited to become a member. I'm excited to try it. I'm excited that you peeled time out of the day that I know that you normally didn't have. And I'm so excited that the things that you shared in this podcast right here are going to make an impact. Entrepreneurs that listen to this right here are going to take away how to build a culture, how to develop a team, what type of ideas to use, decisions to make decisions about pivoting in business, because that comes up so often. What type of planning to do. Those businesses right there are going to take that information and they're going to be able to use it in real life, real time. I'm very thankful. I want to thank everybody that tolerated my coughing fit there. I want to thank everybody that was an audience today. I want to thank you for taking time to come out. I want everybody to take a chance to hit the subscribe button on the Follow the Lead, Tony Miltenberger's executive coaching. I want everybody to check out what Scotty Cronin and his team at Gunset and Topflight have going on. I'm very thankful for you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. It was really good talking with you today.
It was our pleasure. I hope everybody else will see everybody when we come up on the next Ohio Business Spotlight. It doesn't get any better than this one right here. Thank you so much, Scotty. Everybody have a great day.